She's a poetic and vibrant nonprofit founder and a commissioner for the Houston Commission on Disabilities. Jean, poetic and vibrant nonprofit founder, commissioner for the Houston Commission on Disability. So, Amie, what is your current focus and passion?
My current focus and passion um, is just around the nonprofit, um, and the nonprofit has like an LLC arm for my own yoga. So currently, I'm doing an adaptive yoga teacher. I know there's wind wrestling in the back. I'm wondering if you're still hearing me okay, but
Yeah, I don't hear the wind. I hear you
okay,
just fine.
great. So I'm currently doing an adaptive yoga teacher training. So I'm specializing in yoga for wheelchair users, and that's where the main focus is. The bigger picture is art and mindfulness for people with disabilities. I think that when it comes to having a physical disability, we get very caught up, or I got very caught up in uh how do I get better? How do I get back? What does it look like to work it out, like with my body? But recently, or the farther I've gotten into it, it's what does it look like to work it out with my mind? And so I begin with art and yoga, and poetry is my style to begin.
All right, those activities that enrich the mind, that allow you to express yourself and create something big and fun. When I was a kid, I think like my dad's cousin was in a wheelchair, and I always wonder, but it was always awkward. I could never ask him. I'm like, how does he keep in shape? I was like, I wonder if he like does this or does pull-ups. I always wonder, like, is it easy to gain weight, or is it like difficult to stay in shape if you're not able to, like run a marathon?
No, those are the questions. It's actually kind of fun because, not funny, but I remember it was so. I knew someone who was a paraplegic, so one amputee, one leg amputated in the fourth grade. And I just never wondered too hard about his life. But as I've gotten into like the commission, or I spend more time in adaptive sports here in Houston, I understand that he's in the Paralympics, so he's a Olympian for the USA basketball team. Like that, and I was like, wow, would you look at that? But I would have never guessed that. Yes, there's a way to stay fit. There's a way to stay healthy. It's different for each person, each individual, and their condition. But for the most part, the answer is yes. There is. It's kind of hilarious because I mean it's hilarious to me now. It wasn't funny the first time I heard it, and I wouldn't say it's hilarious to every. I'm not speaking for everybody with a disability, but some of my friends in college were just like, "Do you get up from your chair?" And I'm like, "I think we're too old for you to ask me that question." Like, I do because I don't sleep in here. I don't carry out everything in my chair. So there is a way, and the more you ask, the more you'll learn. The research is everywhere.
Awesome. And you always see those videos sometimes of the guys with the wheelchairs playing basketball, and it looks like a lot of work, looks like a lot of fun. And even the way you describe it, it's just that everyone's different. And, sometimes you think like, oh, I need to wrap my knee when I go for a run, or I need to, plug my ears if I go swimming. We all have our quirks, and it's just a matter of like knowing your body, and well, hey, if I'm in a wheelchair, I just have other methods of working out. And so this concept that you have of the yoga for disabled people, it sounds really cool and amazing. And so how it is, I don't even know much about yoga in general. So how is yoga different for someone who is disabled?
It's actually, there's so many answers to that question, but when we say yoga, especially in the West, we're thinking of the really cool poses and standing on your head. So turns out yoga is like a pie, and there are eight different portions. And the movement piece, which is referenced as asana, um, is only one piece of the pie. But my adaptive yoga teacher program does have a focus on um, getting the movement pieces from the chair kind of worked out. The question you said again was, how is it different?
How is it different?
Well, the biggest difference is that it's seated, so it's different for people wanting to. It's in my experience, it's a lot less sweat, a lot less heartache, and it's seated. That's the biggest difference. It's not so different as for bringing attention to certain parts of your body and trying to I guess I guess if somebody didn't know about yoga, so my family, we're a Haitian background. I might tell my parents that we're just stretching. Or if I had to really, I'm like, okay, my parents are older, so I'll say, okay, we're just about to do some stretches. I won't break it down and give them the full yoga poses, yoga names for why we're doing this certain pose for what part of their body it's gonna touch. But I'm like, okay, are you having problems with your lower back? Are you having problems with your arms, your shoulders, different things like that? So I'm able to direct particular stretches and or asanas is the term for each pose, able to direct them to say, okay, how do I deliver this to you seated and for your needs?
All right.
That's the difference.
And it makes the way that you present it, it makes it more accessible, right? Because it's so easy to make fun of yoga, right? With all the namaste and all the
All that.
downward dog and all the terms. So you say, well, hey, it's just stretching. Don't worry about what the labels are until maybe you get more advanced with it. But for now, just do some activities, do some stretching. And I think that I always forget about like yoga as a layperson. It seems like really easy and really hard at the same time, right? You think like, oh, well, what you're just doing these moves. Does it really do a workout? But then you hear about like planking or something and like holding a position for like many minutes. That seems really difficult. And so it's good that you have this kind of business set up and this way to get the awareness. And you mentioned there about like kind of getting physically fit. I think that's always a good message, right? Like the Richard Simmons, right? Saying like, you know, get healthy, because it's really easy if someone gets in the later years and they have like the back pain. It's easy to just say, oh, I just need to take some pills. Well, maybe you need to maybe get physically fit. They say, well, I can't get physically fit because of the back pain. Is yoga a good option for someone to consider if they have some of these chronic problems, back pain? Like, what's sort of the sales pitch for yoga in general?
It's various because there's so many different types of yoga, but for from my perspective, when I say fit, FIT, so I have seven brothers.
Okay.
I have seven brothers. So when my condition first starts reaching my body, there was a lot of disbelief where I'm like, this is the problem. They're like, okay, do this stretch, do this. And I'm like, see, the issue is my brain is telling my body to do something and my body is not doing it. So fit, fully in touch. So recognizing that your relationship with your body is specific and you are the world's leading expert in your own body is something I learned from another accessible yoga teacher. But to circle back, you were saying or I don't want to leave the question. Can you repeat it real quick?
The question is, what's the sales pitch for yoga? Why should someone consider yoga if maybe they haven't tried it or have talked themselves out of it?
The sales pitch for yoga is getting fully in touch with every element of your body. You think you know stretching, you think you know fitness, but try mindfulness and breathing. And what are the pieces of what your body, what you might be asking from yourself that you haven't answered? I think yoga potentially has an answer.
Okay, yoga potentially has an answer, and you hear about these things like biofeedback, and like it seems silly when you first hear about breathing, but and it takes a lot of practice, doesn't it? But I think that once I started applying breathing to fall asleep better, I do like a breathe in for 8 seconds, hold it, and breathe out for 8 seconds, and I do it eight
Yes.
times, and then I fall asleep. I used to not be able to sleep until 2 in the morning, and now I can anytime I want, middle of the day, do that 8 second thing, and I fall right to sleep. And then mindfulness has become buzzword these last few years, and similar idea. If I get really stressed out, I like notice, five things I can see, four things I can hear, etc. Focus on my breathing, do the counting, and the next thing I know, I have transformed my mindset, changed the mental channel, feel a lot better. And so, even though I've never done yoga in my life, I might never do it, but even just hearing from you about like these benefits of breathing and what can be done, that's it's really great to hear. And so you mentioned a little bit about like your condition. Like, what do you have? What happened to you?
Absolutely, absolutely. Sorry, there's one thing you said because I was like, you're not doing yoga because you're that's what you're saying. But some of the elements that you said with the breathing and the things are things included. You would find that some yoga teachers are people are paying to do exactly what you're doing under the name of yoga. But anyways, so I was 19 years old. I was walking a class in college, and my left knee was bugging me. And like I said, I have seven brothers. So I'm like, ain't nothing really going on. And that amalgamated over time to my lower back hurting, to um, just forgetfulness, different things. I was like, what is going on? Something's not right. I am a bit of I have a high pain tolerance, I guess. So it wasn't until I couldn't really feel my leg or both my legs were in pain. I had went to the doctor a couple times, did a couple things that I said, okay, I need to go to the ER. I don't know what's going on. I go to the ER. The doctor says, I tell her everything that I'm going through. And she said, "Did you leave your food in the?" She didn't say it like that. She said, "Have you left your food in the microwave before?" And I was like, "Wow!" This morning, and my phone screen it used to always have cracks on it. She said, "Do you drop your phone a lot?" And I'm like, "Well, clearly because my screen is cracked." And she said, "I think I know what's going on." Whatever. 14 days later, they're pretty sure that I'm experiencing multiple sclerosis. That's the long answer for your question. Relapsing remitting multiple sclerosis. It sucks. But the MS Society, I'm an ambassador for the MS Society in Houston, does a lot. There's a lot of research, there's a lot of medication. There's different answers for MS, multiple sclerosis. That's my condition.
And what do we need to know as far as the awareness of MS? Because I have a friend who has it, but I don't ask her that many questions. And I remember watching The West Wing, and there was like a whole thing where like the president had it, and sometimes had to be like carried out on a stretcher. So I've heard like uh, sometimes you can't walk or you get tired, but that's as a layperson, that's all I know. So if you can
Yeah, no,
educate me,
no worries.
what is MS?
MS, so multiple sclerosis, all it means is that on your brain you have multiple points of scarring. I think that's what those words mean when you break it down. Scarring on the brain when it affects the tissues, it's your central nervous system, so your brain and spine. um it affects, so you like you tell your arm to raise up, you see. So my latest effect is on my optic nerves, so my vision is now low vision, and I'm like, okay, that's why like processes are important for getting on a video call, things like that. I was like, ooh, I have to have this exactly figured out or I won't. But sorry, to answer the question, to be more direct, even a focus is, they say, a symptom of MS. So that's why I try to be precise about redirecting my thoughts. But no two cases look the same. Your central nervous system has different scars on it. So your body is doing different things. The semester that I got my diagnosis, a friend of mine, she got hers. She lost 80% of her vision in her left eye. And it just seemed like I lost 80% of the strength in my left leg. So it's very different, but it ranges from a whole gambit of things that are happening in your brain to things that are happening in your body, sort of.
It sounds like maybe that's scary or a lot to deal with, but I like how you figured out the processes, and that's just it seems really rough, right? It affects your muscles, your focus, your vision, and you just said no two cases are alike. But is it the kind of thing where is it get worse over time? Are there treatments? Are there remedies? Like what is it like living with this?
Yes, it sucks. It does get worse over time. Um, I've only freed myself lately to say this situation really sucks and I really wish it didn't happen. So, 8 years, March will make 8 years. When I say it really sucks, it's just comparing to a life where I didn't have to deal with it. I've learned so much. I've grown so much. I'm very grateful for who I am today. I wouldn't change it for the world. Like if somebody asked me, or if you told me right now, like, hey, I actually know the secret and I know what you need to do to reverse this and all to make it's just at this point it's uh not my direct interest to get one solution. Um, the cures the MS Society, so that's like the biggest organization in the United States, I guess, connected with our healthcare system and connected with the people for what we're doing. They've recently changed the language because MS has no cure, is how it kind of goes because they've always said it doesn't have a cure, but they say there are different things that you can do to support a longer, healthier life. And so that's kind of how it goes. Yeah,
Right. So there's no cure, but there are things that you can do to manage it and deal with it. And so, do you know have any idea like what those are, or like do you have any example of like is there something that you've heard of or you've implemented just to
yes,
make your life
absolutely.
better? Yeah.
Yeah, so they it's DMT, but this time it stands for disease modifying therapy. So there are different medications. Like MS 50 years ago, there was only one medication or 10 medications, but these days there's about 20 medications that can slow the progression of multiple sclerosis. There's commercials and stuff for them. I don't know if big data only puts them on people's TV who they know MS is relevant in their house, but there are different medications and different things from that perspective. And then you'd be surprised what people offer you. I'm laughing to myself because one of my mentors, she would say, "Don't fall for snake oil," because people will tell you that they know a cure to MS, but there's a lot of natural things that make you feel better. I'm into holistic health. I'm like I drank the Kool-Aid, so I do keep a vegan diet. I'm into holistic health. I think yoga is a piece of my like, okay, I know I can be better. I can do better if I focus my energy on something different. Uh, yeah, yoga and mindfulness as a piece of that from my personal experience. The medication, food and diet, which is a hard one in the United States, but yes, that's a big one as well. If it works for your body, I'm trying not to give advice, but that's what worked for me was to be more mindful of what I was consuming. Food and diet, medication, mindfulness, and then just like I said, I have 12 siblings, and to be honest, uh, I'll let it be all of them have been a part of why I'm alive today. When they have kids, that's even better. My nephew is the captain of that ship of why Ami is okay today. So just reasons to smile, prioritizing that.
Very awesome. Well, you've got a lot figured out, and you think that there are some people who don't know how good they have it and are still miserable. So, and what's the point of that, right? That doesn't do you any good. It doesn't help the people that are around you. And what you've said here, it's a lot of great advice that we could all learn from and should implement regardless of our situation, right? Eat a
Absolutely.
little better. Have a good mindset. Look into your health. Figure out what's the latest as far as the research and the medications and figure out what works for you. It's all great advice for anyone.
Absolutely.
Well, wonderful. And so, we're here to get attention and awareness of what you have going on. And so, if someone wants to know more about you and what you're doing with the nonprofits and with the yoga, let's say that they're in the Houston area, are there any resources to check out or any way to find out more about what you do?
Absolutely. I'm thinking. If you want to be online, LinkedIn and Instagram are the fastest ways. I'll connect that through you. And the commissioner meeting. So, as a commissioner for the Houston Commission on Disability, on the third Thursday of every month, we have meetings where the public are invited to come in. So that's we can see each other in person. I am offering classes for on my way to completing my yoga teacher training. I have to complete a certain amount of free practice classes. I'll be offering that through the month, and you'll see those on my social media.
Very nice. And so if you're in the Houston area, then do a Google search and find that, the Houston Commission on Disability, and look into that meeting. Find out how to get involved. Find out where it is. You can meet Amie in person. And then as far as LinkedIn, that's Amie Jean, first name Amie, last name Jean. And you can go on linkedin.com/in/JEANAMIE. And then as far as Instagram, what's the handle there?
Oh, my handle on Instagram is AYEJEAN. Two N's at the end.
All righty. So if you're quick on the draw, you write that down, but we'll also have the link to that in the show notes. That way you can get connected, because it's an easy and nice micro commitment, right? If someone said something on YouTube or on a podcast that really connected with you, there's no harm in just clicking the one button. You're probably following all sorts of randos anyway. Why not follow someone who has an excellent message, excellent cause, great things to say? If you liked hearing her on a podcast, you get more of that. Like you mentioned a few minutes ago there, Ami, about the algorithms, right? You get shown certain ads. Well, why not be in control of that yourself? You say, well, I like this person, show me more of her, and add her on Instagram and LinkedIn. And if you have something to ask her or tell her about just MS awareness, don't sell her any snake oil. But if you say, hey, MS wants to know more about it, I have it, friend, family has it, wants to know more resources, then she is definitely a person to listen to, check out. And she just has great advice on living your best life and being happy, and not letting the randomness of life and the things that happen to you get in the way, because you should happen to life, right? Life should happen for you. Don't be a victim. It's really easy to do that. It's better to be happy and to help others. And before we let you go here, Ami, it's time to put you on the spot a little bit. I like to ask my guests about a fun quote or lesson that has served them in life or in business, that has helped them and they want to pass on to us. So what comes to mind for you as far as a fun quote or lesson?
Immediately, so I like poetry. I do different things. The poet Maya Angelou, she has a quote: "A bird doesn't sing because it has a song. It sings because a bird doesn't sing because it has an answer. It sings because it has a song." And I think it's a good reminder to be yourself. You don't always have to serve others and what they're telling you to do, what they're trying to say. It's not always about having an answer. It can be about having a song. So do your thing. That's the vibe.
I love that vibe. Do your thing. And while we were doing our thing, let's look up Amie Jean on those social media platforms, and you have yourself a wonderful day, Ami.
You too. Thank you so much.
All right.